say this, Tony. I mean, he knows his body. He's played through serious pain before, very, very serious injuries. It wasn't a matter of pain tolerance or anything. He just did not feel like he had his full faculties.
Scott, it seemed almost like they thought up until pregame workouts that he was going to play, and that's a little concerning, I think.
Well, it's certainly unusual, and it adds to, I don't know, the intrigue, I guess, around this situation. I mean, I was told all week that the expectation was that he would play. Not that it was guaranteed, but the expectation was he would play. Deshaun Watson on Friday in the locker room said he was okay. He expected to play, and I saw him kind of windmill his arm to show that, yeah, he's got range of motion. Now, he didn't throw much during the week. Like, it was light throwing, and I asked Kevin Stefanski today, he hadn't thrown the ball like full strength all week. So when you know that, and you could kind of see that, you think, okay, then there's a question, which is why they listed him as questionable. But the hope and the expectation was that he would show up Sunday and the shoulder would feel good enough that he could go out and perform. And he made about 10, 11 throws at 10:15 in the morning, and none of them, they were like 10 yards as long as they were. They were all half speed. And right then he decided that he couldn't play. And he felt like that was as hard as he could, like he couldn't throw it any harder. So if you can't throw it harder than that, why even try? And he's not going to be able to play. So that bruise in the shoulder affected him enough that he felt he couldn't go.
So what did you it almost seemed like they didn't alter the game plan a ton for Dorian Thompson-Robinson. What did you think of just the way it unfolded?
Yeah, well, I don't know what, that's been said a lot, right, in the last day. I don't know what that looks like. I mean, you can't run it 45 times because they weren't running it with success, and they haven't in the last 2 weeks. There were glimpses here. They had a couple of runs early. The 426-yarder gets called back for a hold on the first play. But overall, they did not run it against that Ravens front, which is good. The Ravens have two good linebackers. I didn't think the offensive line played particularly well, which plays into that lack of a great running game. We all know they don't have Nick Chubb. So, they could have just run it a bunch of times and punted after 3 runs, or you try to have your quarterback make some short throws, which they did, and he had some success early. But, then he tried to force it. I mean, the throw to Cooper that gets intercepted and sets up the first touchdown after that long return, it's just a slant. And he throws it 3 yards behind him into double coverage. And I thought he threw into double coverage a ton. I thought the decisions weren't good. Even on some of those plays where they wanted to take deep shots, he threw one where it was like triple coverage or felt like there were 5 guys back there. And I'm sure the thought is, let's take a shot here. Well, but when you see the coverage like that, David Njoku's leaking out of the backfield or, off the edge of the line. He's open. You dump it to him, and it's a completion and a gain. And I just thought Thompson-Robinson did not take advantage of those opportunities. So, I'm not saying every play call from Kevin Stefanski was a good one. You can argue that maybe they don't run any trick plays with the rookie quarterback, but maybe you're trying to, get an easy completion, an easy deep shot. I just don't know how different it could have been with DTR. And I do think they planned for him. Like, he took a bunch of the reps, almost all the reps during the week with the first team offense. So it wasn't like they didn't give him any chance to prepare. I just think he didn't play well, and the Ravens defense played well.
So this is kind of interesting as well. Pro Football Focus had DTR with 5 turnover-worthy throws yesterday. So he threw 36 passes, and we've talked about it. Do you think the 36 passes is indicative of the way the game unfolded, or just that they knew running the ball was going to be a struggle?
Yeah, that 5 is interesting. I'm still rewatching the game. I think I'm in the second quarter, and I probably would have put the number there, or maybe even a little higher, right? Because he threw 3 interceptions. Felt like there could have been more. I mean, that's not to pick on the kid. It's a tough spot, first start, first NFL passes, but he just didn't play well. I think the 36 passes was because they were down 21-3 at halftime, and you got to throw the ball. Like, I don't think that's the plan. Plan going in is, a balance. You get him some easy completions. You run the ball. Keep it a close game, have your defense play really well. But when you're down 21-3, you got to throw the ball.
So Browns let an opportunity to get away without question. They could have taken control of the AFC North and improved to 3-1. Instead, they're 2-2, and it's the Ravens that have kind of taken control. Myles Garrett talked about kind of letting that opportunity slip away getting into the bye week.
It's always opportunity. It's always 50-50. You win and you lose. It's what it is. When we're injured and we win or we lose, it's an opportunity for them. It's the same here. But we're 2-2. At the end of the day, we got a lot more opportunities. We are out of sorts, and we didn't execute how we should have, how we prepared all week. It's not what we displayed today, and we know we just got to continue to work on putting it all on the field and putting it all together when the time calls.
How you guys started the game defensively, 3-3 now, because it was really strong. What happened in the second quarter, I guess, what slips?
Hard to tell you. Got to go watch the film. I know. It's not like they were running anything we hadn't seen. It was just a matter of being where we needed to be, making our fits, making hits. There was a lot of missed tackles all over the field. And, if you're in the right place and you're missing tackles, it doesn't matter how well you're executing.
And Scott, it almost seemed like the defense was trying to come up with a big play, a turnover or something to help them out, and that's when you start missing tackles.
Yeah, the defense is probably due for a little return to earth, right? I don't know if it was realistic to think they'd play at that level of the first 3 games all season long. And it caught up to them in the second quarter. They gave up 2 big drives, 2 long drives. That wound up being the difference in the game, right? At least it let the game get to where it got. And I thought Myles was right. To me, it was missed tackles, and maybe it's guys trying to do too much, guys just maybe a split second late, because the Ravens do some kind of complicated stuff with the fakes and misdirection and Lamar keeping the ball that if you get caught in, like I felt like on the touchdown, the 10-yard touchdown by Lamar Jackson, Taki got caught inside with the movement, and then Lamar's able to get out on the outside for the touchdown. And I think if you're just a half second slow because you're looking in the backfield, then you're a little late getting to the ball. You don't tackle with your body. It's a missed tackle, and all of a sudden the offense can keep a drive going. So, it's a tough matchup. Lamar's really good. The Browns' defense was on the field a bunch. I don't know if that's an excuse for the second quarter because it's still pretty early in the game, but there's a lot of 3-and-outs by the offense, it felt like. So, it just kind of felt like everything kind of came together for a perfect storm. But having said that, the Browns gave up 28 points, but 14 of those were right after interceptions and long returns. So, they gave 2 long touchdown drives, which shouldn't kill you in a game, but when your offense does nothing, all of a sudden it's a lopsided score.
All right, before we go to break, let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason for the first time today.
Hi, this is Rico. Well, I, for one, am not going to panic. Ravens are a good team, but once again, our offense has had too many turnovers. And what do you expect from a rookie fifth-round quarterback going against a veteran Ravens team with about 1 week of reps? I mean, our defense only gave up 21 points total, but, the offense gave up the other 7. I mean, Lamar only had 27 yards rushing and a little over 180 yards passing. So it's not like he had an MVP-type game. I'm just going to say, let's just wash this game away and prepare for 2 weeks for an elite 49ers team coming in. I mean, everything is still in front of us. We're 1-2 in the North, 2-2 overall. I think the Browns will bounce back. Don't give up, guys. Let's go, Browns. Woo-hoo.
So I always appreciate all of the voicemails. Scott, Lamar had 4 touchdowns. So while he didn't put up huge numbers, he made some plays when they needed to be made.
That's exactly right. I mean, I think it's a mistake to underestimate what Lamar did yesterday. I know what the stats say, and the Browns kind of felt like they contained him, at least running the ball. He didn't have any of those 40, 50-yard runs that he's been known to have in the past. But the other running backs had, big gains, and they gave up good yardage on the ground. And part of that is just the threat of Lamar in making sure he doesn't kill you. But when he needed to, he had the 2 touchdowns inside the red zone. He throws 2 touchdown passes. The one at the end of the first half was a dagger, and it was a great throw. If it's a half yard shorter, Denzel Ward might intercept it. And it's 14-3 at halftime, and the Browns are getting the ball coming out. Instead, it's 21-3 because he gets it over Ward and to Mark Andrews in the back of the end zone. So I did think Lamar played at an MVP level, even if the numbers don't show it. I think he just has that kind of a force on the game. But the caller's right. I mean, it's not the end of the season. And it did feel like a game to me that, people ride this roller coaster, right, in the NFL and every week. Yesterday felt like a game that you could just throw away because you don't have your quarterback, and that affected everything.
Scott Petrak, Browns beat reporter for the Elyria Chronicle-Telegram, brownzone.com, and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. Back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason when we return. Stay with us.
Go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery, Partners in Education, where stars shine.
We continue talking Browns with Scott Petrak from the Elyria Chronicle-Telegram as well as brownzone.com. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hello, this is Loretta in Dayton. Just want to tell you all to tell the coach to have Deshaun to please slide after his runs, then he won't get hurt, because I've been worried about that since the season started with him, and I'm feeling that he was not going to slide, but he needs to slide after his run. Thank you. Thanks, Dave. Have a great day. I love my Browns. Roof, roof.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. Scott, I don't want my quarterback taking the kind of hits that he took against the Titans. And I've said that all along. That concerns me.
Yeah, it's something you either have to get used to or you have to change, right? And I think the Browns know that that's part of what he does. I mean, I asked Kevin Stefanski about that last week, and he said you got to play smart, you got to protect yourself. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to take any shots, because that happens. It happens in the pocket. It happens to every quarterback. But running quarterbacks tend to take more. And on the play that I think Deshaun Watson got hurt on, it was that 10-yard scramble, and the safety comes up and drills him right on the right shoulder. And, I think you get the bruise because of it. Could Watson have been more careful there? Yeah, he could have gone down a yard sooner. He could have maybe led with the left shoulder. Just stuff you can do to try to protect yourself better. I think it is worth noting that, besides the ACL that Watson had as a rookie in Houston, he hadn't missed any games with an injury. So it's not like he's been banged up a bunch from taking these hits. We saw Lamar Jackson. He runs a bunch. Now, he's really good at avoiding hits and getting out of bounds and getting down. He's just so slippery. So part of that responsibility is on Watson to not leave himself susceptible. And you would think that the latest injury and having to miss this game would drive home that point.
And again, you can't play the position the way he plays it and be afraid of contact. But know in the middle of the field, if you're up there, bigger guys are going to come and take a shot at you. So that's the only thing that I would say about that. We talked about it last segment. Dorian Thompson-Robinson struggled in his NFL debut. Post-game, though, he's not hanging his head about it.
I mean, luckily I started as a true freshman at UCLA, and if you guys would have rewatched that season, it looked like how it did today. So this is my first go-around. I let every one of those O-linemen know that this is, on me too. This is not just a O-lineman fault today or running back or protection or anything. It comes from everybody, receivers, quarterback, everybody involved. So we got to make sure we're on the same page. I know we had some switch outs at center with Poe getting hurt, but we got to have that next man up mentality and be able to roll guys in and still be flawless. So I know for me backing up Deshaun and having to fill his role today, I could have been a lot cleaner on my part. So.
And again, Scott, it's hard to blame a guy. He seems to understand. The question becomes, if you're really a serious playoff team like the Browns have acted like they are, do you want to rely on a fifth-round rookie?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And I've had that debate with guys. It's tough because you're committing so much money to Deshaun Watson that you're not going to have a high paid backup, right? And I think in a perfect world, Jacoby Brissett is your backup quarterback. I think Jacoby wanted a place where he might have a chance to start, and Washington looked better than that. I don't think the Browns were going to pay him $6 million a year or whatever it turned out to be. I don't know that for a fact, but I think that's where you have to pinch some pennies when you're paying your quarterback that kind of money, and it's a tough decision. And I get it. I get the philosophy of, hey, every game's important. You want your backup quarterback to be able to come in and win games, and that makes a ton of sense. There's also a thought that, hey, if your quarterback misses time, you're kind of screwed anyway. And if he misses a ton of time, it doesn't matter. And why are you paying this backup a ton of money? So, I get the argument, but when the backup has a game like he did yesterday, it's certainly called into question, and it calls into question the decision to trade Joshua Dobbs just to move up 2 rounds in the draft from 7th to 5th round in 2024, when he would have had some experience that DTR just doesn't have.
Yeah, and I get it. You're looking for that developmental guy, and you may have identified him in DTR. My question is, do you really, in a season where you think you're a legitimate threat in the division, do you want him to have to start a game? I didn't. Yeah. I said it when it was. I'm not second guessing, because I said it when they made that move.
Yeah, it's certainly a legitimate question. I don't think that was their plan. I know that wasn't their plan. The plan was for DTO to be the third quarterback, and then he played well, really well in the preseason, carries himself well, says the right things, smart, has all that experience, started 48 games at UCLA, and Arizona calls, and the Browns say, hey, we'll trade Dobbs, and they thought it was value. I think their belief was, we're not sure that Dobbs is any better than DTR. Now, that looks wrong right now, the way Dobbs is playing as a starter in Arizona, while he's keeping the seat warm for Kyler Murray, compared to how DTR played yesterday, right? It looks like it's a bad decision. That's what they get paid to make, right? Andrew Berry gets paid to make those types of decisions, and it certainly doesn't look worthy of just moving up 2 rounds in the draft. So I get it. I would just say my only kind of devil's advocate point was, look around the league and say, I think it's Jake Browning in Cincinnati. Is he any better than DTR? I don't even know what his background is. He might not, I don't know who Patrick Mahomes' backup is, right? So I just think it's tough, because I think any team that has who they think is an elite franchise quarterback, the backup is just a huge drop-off.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fair. All right, let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Browns fans, y'all need to calm down. DTR is a 5th-round rookie who played like a 5th-round rookie. He wasn't a first-round pick. Kevin tried. He tried to do deep balls. He tried to give him opportunities to make big plays and still do the same things that Deshaun can do. But at the same time, he didn't do good. He knows he didn't do good. Now everybody wants to say, we should never traded Dobbs. We can't ever win for losing in this organization, because they're making all the right moves. We lost to a good team, and that's just what it is.
And as always, appreciate all the voicemails. Scott, the thing is everybody, the Browns know you're gonna look critically at moves when things like that happen. That's what happens. That's part of the job. That's part of the deal. It's part of having an engaged fan base, I guess.
Yeah, and Andrew Berry's going to talk Wednesday, and that's going to be one of the things he's going to have to answer. Is do you regret it? Why'd you make the move? All those kinds of things. And obviously they knew what you knew, right? That it's a risk putting a rookie quarterback in there and having the rookie as a backup. They knew that full well when they made the decision to trade Dobbs. And I'm trying to remember back to that day. I think it was all about DTR, that they trusted DTR, and it doesn't. The trust does not look like it was justified 1 start in. Now, maybe if he started again, he would be better. I'm sure he'd be better. Would he be significantly better? I don't know that. But yeah, that's why it's a debate, and it's a legitimate debate. And yeah, that's what they get paid the money, and that's why they make all those tough decisions. And sometimes they're the wrong ones, and if it costs you a game, then it looks really bad.
So one of the plays that was really a head scratcher yesterday was the Elijah Moore play. And so he's the first player in the last 20 seasons to lose 20 yards on a rush play that wasn't an intentional loss or a fumble. Kevin Stefanski talked a little bit more about Elijah Moore.
Obviously, that was a tough play the other day, but we want to continue to get him the ball. He's going to be a big part of what we do. He has versatility where he can line up in the formation, but we will do a better job of getting him the ball.
And Scott, they got to figure out where to get him the ball. It's not a matter of getting him the ball. What is he effective doing? Because running north-south, that's not an effective use of his speed.
Yeah, that was an interesting play. I think that was the play they went with, like Harrison Bryant and Nick Harris, the backup center in the backfield, kind of like a full house, and then they motion more wide, and then they give him the ball, and it should have been a 6-yard loss. Like that's where he should have gone down, and then to me that's where the inexperience as a quote unquote running back comes in. Those guys don't reverse field and try to go all the way back most of the time, right? They put their head down, they make a 6-yard loss, a 4-yard loss, and then you live to play another day. And Moore didn't do that, and he probably thinks, hey, I can outrun everybody, and you just can't, and especially can't do it all the time. So probably not a great play call, certainly not blocked like they want it to be, and then he makes a bad decision that leads a 20-yard loss. But your point is well taken, Dave. They have to figure out a way to maximize his skill set. And I think it's still a work in progress. They're trying a bunch of different things. Like he's not a perfect player because he's not the biggest guy in the world. So I don't think you just take deep shots to him all day. But there has to be a combination, right? It can't just be hitches. It can't just be handoffs. Like they got to figure it out. And they've been throwing him a couple of hooks on the outside, and he catches it and he's fine. Maybe you can add some over the middle stuff where he can catch it and run. Maybe a little slant, get him in space and let him go. Because they haven't maximized it. They had 9 for 49 against the Titans, right? Which is a better sign, but it's still not what they would expect.
Yeah, and again, he's a guy that, if you get him the ball enough, he's going to break some tackles and get in the free. We haven't seen him get into the free where he can make that speed a threat to the defense yet. Scott Petrick and I are going to take another time out. On the other side of the break, we head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns with Scott Petrick from the Elyria Chronicle Telegram as well as brownzone.com. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hello, Dave. This is Ernie from Virginia calling again. It's crazy how we all get so emotionally involved with our team as a fan, and it's frustrating when we see things happening that actually affect our lives and we have no control over what's going on. In regard to this game in particular, it was a matter of effort. The defensive backs were horrible in their tackling. The defensive line, I thought, did a pretty good job again, but the rest of the team showed absolutely no effort. Our offensive line, which is supposed to be a vaunted offensive line, was a no-show today. It's impossible to get anybody in a running back position to make any yards if they're getting caught in the backfield. It was just so disappointing. And other teams are able to overcome adversity when they lose a starter, even the quarterback. Cleveland can't, so I think I have to put almost all of the blame on Stefanski. He sure didn't give DTR a chance, and that poor kid didn't have a chance today. That's all I got to say.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. Scott, I don't know. When you say effort, nobody's going out there not trying to lose or not giving effort. What happens is, things start to snowball, and then you try to make a play, and then you're not doing your responsibility. It does. It's been that way since they've been playing NFL football.
Yeah, you miss some tackles. It doesn't look good. I get that. And how many? We've seen it a million times since the Browns have been back. when you get awful quarterback play, which they've gotten way too many times, everything looks bad. And that's how I felt yesterday. And, I don't remove all responsibility from Kevin Stefanski. He's the head coach. Stuff falls on him. But I just think his hands were tied yesterday. I don't know exactly what he could have done. Like, people think he needed to help. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but like, how was he supposed to help DTR? He had short throws. He tried some trick stuff to fool Baltimore. He tried to take some shots. He tried to run it. Like, I don't know what the recipe was. The only thing I thought of is maybe you run him more, right? Because he's got that skill set. But then, do you get him hit? And then you got to go to P.J. Walker, who's coming off the practice squad. Like, it felt like maybe they could have run him more, but didn't. And I don't know if that was because they thought Watson was going to play and they didn't have those up for Watson, or they just didn't want their backup quarterback to also get hurt. But that's all I could really think of Kevin Stefanski. And so I don't blame him for the whole disaster, and I thought the effort was fine.
Yeah, and again, it's I'm with you. A backup quarterback, especially a rookie backup quarterback, it's just tough. And this is one of the reasons, and I'm sure you take a lot of flack. I've taken a lot of flack because when people were calling for DTR to start, I'm like, guys, preseason is different than – and even you saw the Ravens. The Ravens took a couple of series, and then they started, all right, this is what we're going to try to make them do against us.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And, sometimes we all fall for it, because he played great in the preseason. Like, he couldn't have done any more. And that's why it was a complicated decision to trade Joshua Dobbs, because I don't think it was guaranteed that Dobbs was better than DTR. I felt that way. I'm sure the Browns felt that way. Now, again, it looks like it was like a bad decision, and that Dobbs is clearly better at this point in time than DTR. But part of that is you fall for what he does in the preseason. You fall for what guys do in training camp. And that's a dangerous thing to do. And, the Browns are good about it with some players. They don't get caught up in that hype. But it felt different with DTR. And I think the reason for that is he carries himself with such confidence and experience because he made all those 48 starts at UCLA, that the hope was that would translate, and it just didn't yesterday.
All right, before we go to break, this is from CBS Sports, Week 4 grades for the Browns. They give them an F. Browns defense wasn't horrible. They just had their backs against the wall for most of the game, and there's not much they could do. Despite the loss, no one in Cleveland should be panicking as long as Watson's shoulder injury is only minor. And I think that last line is a big dose of reality. As long as Deshaun Watson is okay, the Browns are still right in the middle of this.
They have a chance, right? To me, the defense is going to be fine. Yesterday wasn't great, but it's fine. I think they'll play better most weeks. And I think every week, or just about every week, they're going to give this team a chance to win. The question is, can Deshaun Watson play like he did against the Titans, when he played as good as he has, or better than he has, in any start with the Browns? If he does, then this team's going to be in a whole bunch of games and win a bunch of games. He needs to get to that level. He needs to be consistently at that level or close to what he played against the Titans. And that's still a question mark because we've only seen it once from him, and it's not going to be easy. The line's a little beat up. The running game isn't what it was with Nick Chubb. So he's going to have to take more of that burden and play like he did against Tennessee.
Yeah, the other thing, Scott, and again, Deshaun Watson said he couldn't go. I got to believe in the back of the front offices and Kevin Stefanski's mind, you've got the bye week. So you try to make it work against the Ravens, and you take that extra week, which is actually 2 weeks before he'll have to take a hit, and you try to get him right for the rest of the season.
I think it's probably in Deshaun's mind, right? That, hey, I'm not going to look right. I just don't feel right. I'm not going to play like I need to play, and I can give it 2 more weeks. I think that certainly makes sense to be a factor. I don't know if the players always think long-term. I don't know if the team always thinks long-term. And I do feel like it was Deshaun Watson's decision. Like, he said, I can't go. But it would make sense if that factored into some degree.
Scott Patrick and I are going to step aside, take one more time out. We'll head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Sports for CLE. Be right back. Stay with us.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
We continue talking Browns with Scott Petrak from the Elyria Chronicle Telegram as well as brownzone.com. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hi, Dave. Great show. Howard from Marin County. Couple thoughts. Number one, I think the Browns were outcoached on both sides of the ball. I think the offensive line was terrible. The defense couldn't stop the run. Elijah Moore is not the answer. I think Deshaun could be out for cuff. My question to you is, who's going to take the fall for all this? Is it going to be Stefanski because he can't do any adjustments? Is it going to be Andrew Berry for all the personnel he has? I think we're in for some sorry times. So please let us know who's going to take the fall. Thanks a lot. Great show. Bye.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. Scott, I have no idea. Those are all way ahead of where I'm at as far as the rest of the season goes at this point.
Yeah, I mean, this is what's great about the NFL and kind of annoying about the NFL is last week they look great, right? The defense is the best defense ever. Deshaun Watson's figured it all out, and, you know, they're going to go deep in the playoffs. And then a week later, your starting quarterback doesn't play. Your defense misses a couple tackles, and it's who's going to take all the blame. And I get it. That's what being a fan is like. I think you do need to take a step back, even in the best of times when there's a loss or a win. You got to take a step back. But like I said, yesterday just feels like an aberration because Watson didn't play. Doesn't mean they would have beaten the Ravens, but it's just so hard to tell when DTR played the way he did and Watson did not play. So, you know, if stuff continues to go poorly, then I think Stefanski and Berry could both be on the line, depending on how it goes. You know, depending on who plays well, who doesn't. Does it look more like a roster issue than like a personnel issue than a coaching issue? Those things would all be determined, but that's a long way and a lot of losses down the road.
So this is kind of interesting as well. I didn't realize this until this morning. Week 4 in the AFC North, Lamar Jackson, 4 touchdowns, 2 rushing, 2 passing. The Bengals, Steelers, and Browns all had no touchdowns scored. That shows you how much of a struggle it was. You know, the Steelers lost to the Titans. The Bengals got destroyed, or the Steelers lost to the Texans. The Bengals got destroyed by the Titans. Browns missed an opportunity. If they could have found a way to win that, they'd have been sitting pretty.
Yeah, there's a couple things there. Number one, the only team that scored any touchdowns had the only healthy quarterback, right? Kenny Pickett gets hurt.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow's still dealing with the calf. We know Deshaun didn't play. And then the other thing is, you know, we talked so much about this first month in facing all 3 division teams. And the hope and maybe the expectation from inside the team is get to 3-1, be 2-1 inside the division, right? Hold home court, win both home games, and they weren't able to do that yesterday. Now, again, mitigating circumstances, but there was that opportunity to feel so good about yourself, being 3-1, 2-1. You got a leg up, and now the Ravens have the leg up. They're 3-1. They've won 2 road division games. They still have everybody coming in, and I think they're at Pittsburgh this week, and then they have every AFC North team coming into Baltimore over the rest of the season. So they're in a better position, and you would think they're going to get healthier. Lamar's playing at a really high level. So, yeah, it was a missed chance, but it's understandable why they missed the chance.
So along those lines, Jake Trotter tweets this out. So now the Ravens have an 81% chance to win the AFC North. Browns are second at 11-5, and they still have a 48.3% chance to make the playoffs, according to ESPN's Football Power Index. Scott, here's where I'm going with this. Ravens didn't do anything that I thought, man, the Browns are in trouble. They can't stop that. You know, that's why missed tackles are awful. But they missed tackles. They're not always going to miss tackles. They hadn't missed many tackles the first 3 games. So nothing that the Ravens did I say, huh. The one thing I said, was Lamar Jackson's throw to Mark Andrews, because that was, I mean, if a Browns quarterback is making that throw, I'm hooting and hollering, and he made one heck of a throw on that touchdown pass.
Yeah, he did, and it reminded me of that loss on Monday night to the Steelers. Not the same, but your offense turns it over. I didn't walk away from that game saying the Steelers are way better than the Browns. And I didn't walk away yesterday going, oh, the Ravens are way better than the Browns. Now, they played better, and I think the Ravens are good. I think the Steelers are pretty good. I think they're solid teams that play physical, they play fundamental. They usually don't beat themselves. And that's just who they are. And you have to play well to beat them. That's the bottom line. I think the Browns are at the point where they have to play every week. They can't just show up. Teams like the Ravens and Steelers usually play. I know the Steelers didn't play great yesterday, but historically, they play well. They put out good effort. They're physical. They're tough. You have to play at a high level to beat them. And if you don't, then you're susceptible to losing. And I felt that's why the Browns lost both those games, is because they just didn't play well enough, made too many mistakes, turned the ball over, not to mention you don't have your quarterback. And just the division thing, that's why that game yesterday was a swing game. I think the Browns are pretty close as far as a betting favorite to win the division. They were second behind the Ravens. If they had won yesterday, I bet it would have flipped. But now the Ravens are, the odds-on favorite, which makes sense, but it is really early.
All right. Before I let you go, early when the schedule came out, we were like, boy, the bye week's early. Bye week probably at a really good time right about now. Myles Garrett was in a walking boot. You didn't have Deshaun. You really need to change some things, even in the run game. I would think you're going to – here's what I expect to happen. I think they're going to start running out of the shotgun, and I think they're going to start doing some more RPOs.
Yeah, they've run a decent amount, but you're right, not a ton, maybe not as exclusively. That's an interesting idea, Dave, because to me, the bye week comes at a good time for all the reasons you mentioned. I just think from a reset mentally, right, you're probably still getting over the Nick Chubb thing. Not that you're going to get over it, but you get another time, you kind of reset there mentally, emotionally. And I think the biggest thing they need to fix is that run game. And with Kevin Stefanski and Alex Van Pelt and Bill Callahan and Stump Mitchell, those guys are smart. They know what to do to design a running plan. And I think they'll go back to the drawing board and tweak some things. And I'd expect it to be better coming out of the bye week. Maybe they tweak personnel. Maybe get Kareem Hunt more carries, given that he's only been back a couple weeks and he's probably still working himself into football shape. So I think there's progress to be made there. And then figuring out a way to better utilize Elijah Moore, right? Those feel like the two areas where they need to make the biggest jump and can make the biggest jump.
Scott Petrak, Browns beat reporter for the Elyria Chronicle-Telegram, as well as BrownZone.com, as always. Thanks so much for the time and the insight. Appreciate it, Scott.
Thanks, Dave.
Scott Petrak, make sure you check him out. Elyria Chronicle-Telegram, BrownZone.com. Always really good Browns coverage. We're going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Tyler Johnson straight ahead. We continue talking Browns.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
and educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams, I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
We continue talking Browns on Sports4CLE. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
I want to comment on Jedrick Wills. I don't know, ever since his rookie season, and I know he got hurt for a little bit, he hasn't been the same. He has not been playing at a first-round pick level. DeJuan is playing way better than him, and he just got here. And my issue is, it's effort. And I don't know if Bill Callahan has gotten in his butt about that, but he needs to. It's an effort thing with Jedrick, and it's a want to with him. I don't think it has nothing to do with the talent. It's just the effort thing.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. Let's welcome in Tyler Johnson from the Faithful Dogs podcast as well as Network 216. What are your thoughts? Everything's magnified with a tough loss. Browns aren't running the ball like they normally can. Thoughts about Jedrick Wills?
I've normally given Jed Wills benefit of the doubt, Dave. I think that when he came into the NFL in 2020, when you're making the switch from right tackle to left tackle in a COVID year, there are going to be some growing pains there. I have no doubt. And Joe Thomas has even said that it's the hardest switch in the NFL is going from right tackle to left tackle, especially if you haven't played the position. The reality is, though, Jed Wills it looks like he's gotten worse since his rookie year. Now, there have been injuries that have affected that, but this year there have not been injuries. He does from time to time look like effort is a little bit of an issue with him, but at the same time, there are times where he's just getting flat out beat off the snap right away. If you look at it, Pro Football Focus has him as the worst graded Browns offensive player this year. He's played 301 snaps. Obviously you have James Hudson, DTR, and Marquise Goodwin that have lower grades, but among the starters, it's a huge gap between Jed Wills and the next starter, Donovan Peoples-Jones. I mean, it's a very significant gap. And right now, you're not getting enough out of Jed Wills, and that's a problem because DeJuan Jones is a rookie right tackle, and again, right tackle is different than left tackle, and DeJuan Jones isn't lighting it up by any means, but he has looked really good in pass protection. We know DeJuan Jones has to get better in the run blocking game, but he's only a little bit worse, according to Pro Football Focus, than Jed Wills is as a run blocker. And as a pass blocker, DeJuan Jones is actually graded out as one of the highest Browns in pass blocking. So I'm worried about Jed Wills moving forward because right now the Browns don't have a better option in-house. James Hudson, that's not a move that's going to move the needle and really help the offense. So unless they make a move at the deadline, you're really kind of stuck with Jed Wills, and you have to hope that he can figure it out at some point.
All right. So Wyatt Teller talked about the Browns trying to get that run game going against the Ravens yesterday.
Yeah, I think that missing 24 is a big deal to that. He's the human eraser, as we like to call. Damn good player. So, we got to be able to, run without one of the best running backs in the league. It's not easy. That's a good front. Even though they were banged up, the scheme's good. Those linebackers are unbelievable. So, we had to run the ball well early. When you don't do that and you get behind, it's hard to just be able to run the ball. I know that that's what a lot of people say and a lot of couch coaching would say, but it's not that easy. You got to be able to pass effectively, run effectively, and if you can't do that, then it's going to end up like yesterday.
And again, you can't argue with anything that he said. It got away from them.
Yeah, the run blocking game it's not been consistent the last 2 weeks. It has struggled mightily, and it seems to be when Jerome Ford breaks off. I mean, we saw it a couple times yesterday, gets maybe 8 yards on a carry, gets called back for holding. So even when they are executing in the run game, they're then getting a penalty called, which negates the run. I think if you look at the one thing to look at from all of this is that the Browns have faced the last 2 weeks the 4th best run defense in Tennessee and the 7th best in Baltimore. That's something to look at as why they could be struggling. I think the other thing that Wyatt Teller mentioned that is very important to note, Nick Chubb isn't the one running the football back there anymore. And nothing against this offensive line, but I do think Nick Chubb's vision and his ability to see that he's running a certain way, that's going to be covered and able to bounce that to some open space. His vision is unlike many running backs in the NFL with his elite vision that he has. And so I think that's hurting this team too, because you don't have Nick Chubb back there anymore. And I think, this offensive line has been really good for the last couple of years, but you could also make the argument that if Nick Chubb's not the one running the ball back there, this offensive line has kind of struggled. And so I think Nick Chubb not being there, when he was on the field, it might have really negated some of the issues we saw at the Browns offensive line in the run game. But now we're starting to see those issues magnify because Jerome Ford is not Nick Chubb. Kareem Hunt's not Nick Chubb. We have to hope coming out of the bye they can get that fixed, because if they can't establish just a decent run game, regardless if Deshaun Watson's back there or not, it is going to make this offense a lot more one-dimensional. And that's something that you don't want to see, especially if you want to be a playoff team. You have to be able to run the ball from time to time. And right now, that's something the Browns have really struggled with ever since Nick Chubb went down with the knee injury.
Yeah, I would expect out of the bye there will be some subtle changes and maybe some not so subtle changes to the way they approach the run game because it does have to get better. Tyler Johnson from the Faithful Dogs Podcast Network 216 and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. Back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Sports4CLE. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns with Tyler Johnson from the Faithful Dogs Podcast, as well as Network 216. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
This is Keith calling from Columbus, calling in regards to the reaction to the Baltimore game, because it's going to be all negativity all week. They're going to blame it on Stefanski. They're going to say the play calling. We went out there with a rookie quarterback. Deshaun was not playing. We was already without Chubb. I mean, we're moving forward without him. But you tell me a team that you take their quarterback, their two best players, mainly their quarterback, off the team, and you tell me how they look. So calm down, everybody. Don't come with the negative talk. Don't blame Stefanski. He was playing with a rookie quarterback. What do you expect? Thank you.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. And again, Tyler, I've been called a Stefanski apologist. And I brought this up to Scott earlier, and he said, I don't know how to work around that. I just don't know that you want your rookie fifth-round quarterback, a fifth-round draft pick, to throw the ball 36 times.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I've seen mentioned too. And the reality is, like the caller said, you're going into this game without your two best offensive players, and especially the best running back in the league. It's going to be difficult to overcome that. Now, I'll say this. I do think the game script had something to do with that. When you get down like that and you get down 14-3 and you see how DTR is playing, it's difficult, and you're not really running the ball either. I think that had to do with a lot of why they threw the ball 36 times. And keep in mind, what DTR was good at in college is a shotgun type of based offense, which is why you saw him throwing a lot from the shotgun, similar to Deshaun Watson. And that's why you want a backup quarterback that has a similar type of skill set and background in that system. But that said, you do need to put him in a better position to succeed. I do think Stefanski was trying to do that. Again, it was a lot to overcome, but at the same time, what the good teams do, Dave, is they find ways to win in these circumstances. And, the 49ers are a really prime example. Kyle Shanahan's won with all kinds of different quarterbacks that we would not consider elite whatsoever. You have to be able to go out and do that as an NFL head coach. And I would say that's something that Kevin Stefanski struggled with on Sunday, but I'm not going to place all the blame on him for that either, because the players do have to execute. DTR could have played better. You could tell that he was trying to do way too much as a rookie quarterback, trying to make the big play happen, not really taking so much what the defense gives them. And you saw that on Sunday. So it was all around a collective effort. Kevin Stefanski could have done better for sure, but also fans need to understand this too. If you're going into the bye week and I told you were going to lose Nick Chubb for the year and Deshaun Watson was going to miss at least one game due to injury, but you're going to go into the bye week 2-2, would you take that? And I guarantee you most fans out there would take that. We're all frustrated today, rightfully so, but I think we need to put some perspective into how we're viewing this and think that right now, the fact we're 2-2, we still have everything in front of us, and we still have 13 games left in the season. There's a lot that can happen, and the Browns are right in the thick of everything right now.
Well, the other thing is you didn't mention that you're going to lose your right tackle, Jack Conklin, as well. DeJuan Jones has played well. Wyatt Teller talked about playing with a rookie quarterback.
We had a good plan. We went into it, a couple mistakes here and there, and it's going to be the the telling of the game. You get behind. Our defense played extremely hard, but we left them out there too long. Any defense is human when you get them tired. So we had to execute, and we didn't do that. We got to play better. We got to be able to deal with the adjustments, deal with the schemes, no matter what they are. And we didn't do that yesterday. So it sucks, but I still believe in this team. Deshaun, whoever's back there, I always say this: I'm too busy worried about the guys who are trying to rip my head off at the defensive line than worried about who's trying to throw a pass. So I'm more focused on my job and trying to win my one-on-one.
And it goes to your point, the game script. The turnovers, and really his inability to be accurate kind of tied the hands. If you're inaccurate, you don't want to start throwing the ball over the middle of the field in an NFL game.
Some of the decision making, again, he's a rookie 5th-round quarterback. It just wasn't. There were just so many plays. You're like, man, what DTR? What are you doing there? Like what the thought process? I would love to have a conversation on like what the thought process is when just trying to make some of these plays. Like you're running and then you try and pitch it to Harrison, Bryant. Like you're back at UCLA, things like that. And Wyatt Teller's right. I do believe they had a good game plan in place, but when you do turn the ball over like that and give Baltimore good field position, it makes it very hard to stay in the game. The Browns defense just got worn down. That's really all it is. I saw some fans saying they were worried about the defense. I'm not. Lamar Jackson's a former MVP for a reason. He played great yesterday, and he deserves credit for that. This defense was on the field way too much, and the fact that they didn't even give up, I believe, 300 yards of offense in this game is actually still pretty remarkable. So, the Browns defense gave up 28 points. They were going to come back down to earth at some point. They were. And I think they're going to be a lot better coming out of the bye. I think when they play Baltimore again in Baltimore, they're going to have a lot better plan for Lamar. But I even think the plan for Lamar Jackson really wasn't bad on Sunday. I just think you got them and put Baltimore in a lot of positions that made it easy for them to score with the turnovers. So, yeah. Wyatt Teller's right. They had a good game plan. Unfortunately, the game script just didn't dictate it for it to be very effective.
Tyler Johnson from the Faithful Dogs Podcast Network 216. As always, appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Tyler.
My pleasure, Dave. Thank you.
Tyler Johnson, make sure you check him out, Faithful Dogs Podcast as well as Network 216. Cavs getting ready to begin training camp tomorrow. Today, media day. So JB Bickerstaff talked about what the additions of Max Strus, George Nang, and Ty Jerome will mean to the Cavs' style of play this season.
The game has come down to space and opportunity. And when you bring in a guy like Max, you bring in a guy like George, Ty, those guys that can make shots, at a high clip, it just puts that much more pressure on defenses. And I think, last year we were still a top 10 offense. I think when you saw it most is in, late game situations and obviously in the playoffs when people really start to lock in. The threats that you have all around the floor, people take advantage of those opportunities more, and they crowd the floor more. So having guys who, have the reputation that those guys that we have brought in, it's just going to make everybody on the floor better, and it makes everybody on the floor's job easier.
And again, those three make three-point shots should help the offense quite a bit. So a big story will be, and it'll be going on all year, Donovan Mitchell, 2 years left on his contract. He was eligible for an extension in the offseason. Cavs and Donovan Mitchell didn't really go down there. Mitchell talked about his expectations for the year this year, as well as his future with the Cavs.
Obviously, for myself, I want it to be known that I still have the opportunity to sign an extension next summer. I don't think a lot of people understand that aspect. But right now, for me, my focus is like I just said, we added some new additions. We obviously had a season that you could kind of rate went really well until it went really poorly. So for us, it's, that's where all of our heads are at. That's where my head is at, and I think I'm really excited about what we've got going here, and I think that's the biggest thing, especially for myself, is like, look, we could do something special. That's why I relayed to George and Max when I told them about coming here. And, ultimately, when the season's over, we'll get to that. I've addressed that with the front office and whatnot. So for me, that's my biggest thing is, I still have an opportunity to do the same thing next summer. And I know it's a world where there's always talk. This won't be the last time I probably have to answer this question. But for me, we got something really special we can do here. And, I think it starts with this season. And that's the main goal.
Donovan Mitchell at Cavs Media Day talking about a potential extension with the team. Training camp gets underway for the Cavs tomorrow. That's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. We will see you back here tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow at 4 on Sports for CLE.